Let's welcome Kirill Zakharov of Unsplash with the first case study.
My name is Kirill, for those of you who don't know me. I'm a product designer. I work on Unsplash. Before that, I was working at Crew, that was recently acquired by Dribble. So my primary focus in the last couple of years has been Unsplash while operating under Crew. So to better understand the story of Unsplash, first let's take a look at three of our big projects. We have Crew, Crew Cafe, and Unsplash. So Crew is a platform that connects the best designers and developers with high-quality projects. The Crew Cafe is an office space in Montreal, and until the recent acquisition, Crew operated in this space. It's a beautiful building with 50-foot ceilings, and it served as headquarters for the Royal Bank of Canada until we moved into the space about a year ago. We repurposed the space as a co-working space and a cafe. If you're ever in Montreal, definitely pass by and check it out. Unsplash operates in the back behind the cafe in this very space. And our last project is Unsplash. It's free, do whatever you want, high-resolution photos. I know it's been asked before, but some of you use Unsplash, but who has heard of Unsplash? Or, yeah, and never used it? Okay, cool. So for those of you who don't know what Unsplash is, it's a community where photographers share some of their beautiful high-resolution photos free of charge, and you can download them and use them however you want. And in fact, we encourage you to use the photos in a creative way. You can remix them or use them in your placeholders, assets, whatever you want, really. So let's go back to 2013. We had a company, Crew, which was called Oomph at the time, and we made a marketing site. And we were looking for a placeholder image. So we looked up online, and most stock photos look like that. So we ended up hiring a photographer, and he took some photos for us. So we used one of the photos on our page. We then had 10 photos remaining. So we took those photos and slapped them up on a Tumblr page. It was just a free theme that we downloaded. We also added a tagline, 10 new photos every 10 days. And then I went to sleep. We woke up, and we found out that Unsplash was featured on Hacker News, and we're #1. And you wouldn't believe what happened next. So people started submitting really beautiful photos to be featured on the Tumblr blog. And it just kept on coming and coming. And we're really blown away. We're like, holy shit, what do we start? So that year, Unsplash became the #1 referral source to Crew. It allowed us to raise money and basically keep on going with Crew and work on it as a business. Unsplash did so well at referring that it's actually known as the company that saved Crew, because we're in a pretty tight situation at the time. We also started noticing Unsplash photos popping up in different places, from Volvo commercials to Hollywood movies even. At big conferences, Adobe was using Unsplash photos as one of their slides. It was also shipped with the WordPress theme at the time, was 2014 theme. And it was even used by well-known musicians and artists. So Al-City used it for one of his covers. So a year later, we had 365 photos on the site and over 10 million downloads. So let's fast forward to 2015 and 2016. Crew is still our primary project, and that was our main focus. And Unsplash was running on the side. We had one person full-time on the project, and we'd basically go in and update the photos and curate them every 10 days and publish them on the blog and our newsletter. Around the same time, we decided to move our platform from Tumblr onto its standalone platform. We also added search, some filtering, and a grid. We also launched our Unsplash API. which now basically gives access to 200,000 amazing photos and powers up over 6,000 applications. We launched Unsplash Collections. It was a way to collect photos. From our perspective, we'd always had that, but our curators and users on the site didn't really have that until then. And I was pretty blown away because people started creating all kinds of collections. And it was one of the first times that I saw one of my features being used widely. Meanwhile, more photos would keep coming in. And they're still blowing us away. We're like, holy shit, who are these people? That time, Apple launched the iPad Pro, and we noticed that they used our Unsplash photos in their mocks on the site, which is pretty cool. We also got this crazy idea to make a book. So we gathered a bunch of photos from 120 photographers and pretty much put them up in a book, and we launched a Kickstarter campaign. We ended up raising over $120,000, and we split up all the profits with the photographers and contributors of the book. It was one of our ways to give back to the community. We also noticed NASA was on the site, and they started uploading. And then SpaceX followed. We started hosting meetups all around the world, from New York to Boston, to Toronto, to Vancouver, to Barcelona. So every time one of us would travel, we'd just meet up with the community and meet the photographers. It was pretty cool to see. Actually, one of our biggest surprises was that in Korea, we had a crazy amount of people that showed up, and we're like, holy shit, didn't even know about that. So now, which brings us to 2017. Early this year, we're at a crossroads. So Unsplash kept on growing at a very exponential rate. And it actually outgrew Crew in every possible way. Unsplash became the third fastest growing photography community in the world, right behind Instagram and Flickr. At this point, we kind of saw an opportunity and we decided to jump on it. So earlier this year, we announced that Unsplash is becoming its own company and splitting away from Crew. We wrote an article about it called Unsplash Inc. And looking back, I think it probably should have been called, holy shit, it's an actual company. So I've had people come up to me and tell me, so what do you guys do all day? Unsplash hasn't changed in years. So it wouldn't be a design meetup without Dieter Rams. Good design is long-lasting. It avoids being fashionable and therefore never appears antiquated. So can the same be said about digital design and digital products? Can digital design be timeless? This is something I've been thinking a lot about since I started working on Unsplash, and especially in the recent months after scaling the team. As Unsplash grew, so did my philosophy about design. There's a recent article by Adam Kopek that was titled, "Can Digital Products Be Timeless?" And I saw this slide that really caught my attention. It was Google's homepage evolving over time, over the last 20 years. And he points out that fundamentally, the homepage hasn't really changed from 1999 to 2017. And then I looked at Unsplash, and fundamentally, it hasn't really changed. We have big, beautiful photos that take over your screen, and it's been like that for years now. So being on the other side, and designing features, but also evolving and growing with the product. One thing I can say is that adding features while keeping the product simple is to this day one of my biggest challenges. This is something I wrote in a blog post 2 years ago. As a designer, Unsplash's signature simplicity is something I try to maintain in every new feature we add, and it's really hard. So while the design hasn't changed much, our process and the Unsplash ecosystem has changed pretty much every 6 months, I would say. We went from Tumblr to a Rails app to a React app, and in between we've been adding features. So this is just the homepage over the years. Which brings us to Unsplash today. it's still the big photos. We have the grid view. We have collections, notifications, standard profile, following. You can add stories to your photos. And you have personalized stats. So now let's look back. Unsplash in 2013, we're building features out of necessity. And we use our gut feeling a lot. So we're very feature-driven. In 2017, it's a bit different. We're still building features out of necessity, and we still trust our gut feeling. But we're more community-driven. We do a lot of user research, user interviews, we study behaviors and patterns. And all of that is backed by data and data analysis. And finally, we end up with experimentation optimization, which something validates your research. So just some takeaways for you guys. So try to listen and understand your users. And the reason why I say understand is because I don't think you can ever understand the user, but without them, your product is really nothing. So try to find a balance of gut and data, because at some point, if data overpowers your gut feeling, it's also not that good. Shift fast and break things. This is really popular, but the idea here is that you're better off just getting something out there and iterating on it instead of letting it like sit on your hard drive or keep on iterating in your sketch file or with your team. And as designers, we're actually really never happy, so you're better off just getting it out there. Know when to kill or retire a feature. As we built Unsplash, there are certain features that came and go, and at some point we knew when to kill it, and our users were, some of them were like, hey, like that was gone, but we're like, you're the only person using it, so that's fine. And finally, design around the fundamentals. So Unsplash was all about the big, beautiful photos, and it's something we kept on, working on since day one. Well, that's that. Thank you.